First tonight, still not in custody. The man accused of the brutal stabbing death of a Springfield woman 3 weeks ago. Gabriel Calixto Ricardo remains wanted tonight. Investigators say he stabbed Emma Schaefer to death in her Springfield home before he took off. Now he's wanted for first-degree murder and domestic battery, Dawn.
Springfield police and the U.S. Marshal Service are searching for him. But WAND News has learned Calixto has a history of dating violence. In 2018, he pled guilty to kidnapping Catherine O'Brien.
And then he had a gun and said, "I want to talk."
WAND's Alyssa Patrick sat down with O'Brien, who describes the terrifying encounter and fear she lives with every day as Calixto is still on the run.
On a cold February night in 2018, Katie O'Brien's life changed forever.
When I was opening my car door, ready to go home, it was dark, and he said, "Katie, I want to talk." And I was like, "I don't want to talk. Like, I've said everything there is to say." And then he had a gun and said, "I want to talk."
Katie O'Brien had just broken up with her high school boyfriend, Gabriel Calixto Pichardo. Now, he was forcing her into his car.
Can I outrun a gun? Can I scream loud enough that someone's gonna get here before that?
She says her mind was racing as he drove her to a nearby motel.
In that motel that night, he really had two personalities. One that was like, "I'm just so in love with you, and I don't know what to do because we're already here. And now we're so far in that I don't know how to back out of this." And then the other one was very cold, hard, flat, ready to hurt.
O'Brien says Calixto threatened to rape her, and police records show he also had a knife and noose with him.
I just had to stay on the one side, his bad personality, just stay quiet and do what he said, and then hope that when he switches to the other one, I can convince him that I love him still and I want to go back home and we can work this out. So that's how I got him to bring me back home.
Once home, O'Brien called police and officers arrested Calixto the next day. But the nightmare didn't start there. Just days before, she says Gabriel had started stalking her.
He had been following me, showing up at my place of work and places around town that I frequented.
Then he tracked her down and confronted her.
And he ended up holding a knife to my throat, and that I started hyperventilating. That was the first time I've ever had like a panic attack.
She says he eventually let her leave. When she got home, her parents helped her file a restraining order against him.
It's very scary to think that that day at my grandma's house could have been the same as with Emma.
Weeks later, after the kidnapping incident, prosecutors charged Calixto with violating that order of protection, aggravated kidnapping, and unlawful restraint. He later pled guilty to kidnapping, and a judge sentenced him to 6 years in prison. He served just 2 years of the sentence before he was released. This all happened in Madison County while Calixto and O'Brien were attending Southern Illinois University Edwardsville together. About 6 months after he was released for the kidnapping case, ICE agents arrested Calixto. Court records show Calixto was born in Mexico and brought to the U.S. by his mom when he was 5. He was granted Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Status, or DACA, when he was 15. But his status expired while he was in prison, and he was no longer eligible for DACA status because he had committed a felony. Court records show he was granted asylum and allowed to stay in the U.S.
It's very scary knowing that, you know, he's smart. If he wants to know where I live, he's going to know where I live. He's going to know what I drive. I work at some of the same places I've worked at before.
O'Brien says she's always been looking over her shoulder since Calixto's release in 2021. A few weeks ago, she heard he was charged with killing Emma Schaefer.
I think it's hard to not blame myself. A lot of survivor's guilt. Just because when the kidnapping thing happened, there wasn't even a newspaper article about it or anything. So if you looked him up, you wouldn't know.
Just 2 years after Calixto was released on bond by immigration officials, he's now accused of murdering Emma Schaefer. And weeks later, Calixto is still on the run.
Now, you know, John and Sean, O'Brien says that she's encouraging others to believe victims who actually speak out about domestic violence.
I think that hurt me worse than when men didn't believe me, because it's like you've never experienced anything like this, like you can't see where I'm coming from.
If you or someone you know needs immediate help, Dove Incorporated offers a 24/7 hotline. Staff can offer emergency shelter, help make a safety plan, or simply talk with a survivor and discuss their options. Advocates say if you suspect a loved one is experiencing abuse, speak up.
Reach out to them and ask, is everything okay? If they kind of are trying to cover something up or they're hesitant about answering the question, just keep checking in on that person. Don't just give up on them. Just keep checking in on them.
Now, you can call Dove anytime at 217-423-2238. You can also submit anonymous questions to Dove on their Facebook or website. That information is listed at WANDtv.com. Live in studio, Alyssa Patrick, WAND News.